Everyone has their own story to tell. And it only goes in one direction, forward.
Start the engine!
Let the tale seduce you.
Let's go. I'm all in.
This is a celebration.
If this isn't good enough for you, I don't know what is.
Stop it, Eve. I can feel your excitement.
This just keeps getting better.
Please give a warm welcome to Jamie West and Kristin Dolan.
Kristin, welcome.
Thank you.
Pretty impressive.
Made it myself.
So the last time you were here on stage, you were representing your previous business, 605, so quite a big change. So AMC as a brand isn't as well known in the UK as it is in the US. Can you give us just a very brief overview of what AMC is all about?
Sure. So AMC is about 40 years old. We started in the US as a subsidiary of Cablevision, which in its heyday was the 6th largest cable operator in the US. And so AMC Networks started out with Bravo, which people I think know now as a different entity in the NBC umbrella. AMC Networks, and then over time added a variety of different things, including regional sports and news. And so now we have a portfolio, as you saw, of 5 linear channels: AMC, WeTV, Sundance, IFC, and BBC America. We also represent BBC News. What?
You forgot one, I'm sure.
Which one?
Just checking.
And then 7 streaming services, which are really fun. So we have AMC Plus, All Black, which caters to Black audiences in the US. We have Acorn, which is not here in the UK, but is British language, British content around the world. High Dive, which is anime. Shudder, which is horror. Varying degrees of horror. And now I did miss one, which somebody will yell at me in the audience for.
And so, since your stint at Cablevision back in the day to where you are today, the world has kind of evolved and changed massively.
Yeah.
Where do you see the biggest differences and changes?
Revenue streams, to start. You know, it's been an interesting ride. So I feel like everything old is new again, though. And now that people are really transitioning from, you know, sort of terrestrially or satellite-delivered linear content to IP-delivered streaming content and television on demand, it's just a matter of waiting for everything to catch up. So in saying everything old is new again, it's essentially like with AMC, with our networks, we're not a vertically integrated company. So we combine, we don't cherry pick the best content from our linear channel and put it on our streaming service. We really have either companion services like AMC with AMC Plus, or we have supporting services. So for example, WeTV predominantly appeals to Black women, and we have All Black as a companion service to that. Acorn, you know, a little bit with BBC America. So we try to have the bundle of our linear and our streaming content as an offering to our distribution partners be beneficial across any platform. So the goal is to make the content available to everybody in any way that they want to consume it. And then we've added, in the past few years, we have 19 fast channels that are available on 9 platforms. So there's 90 iterations of our fast channels on top of the linear and the streaming. So, you know, the world is changing, but I think it's really people are consuming more. They're just doing it differently. And the goal is to meet all the different audiences wherever they may be. So you sort of look at the difference of who's watching a streaming service versus who's watching linear, and kind of think about, especially from an advertising perspective, where to meet people with the right ad at the right time in the right place.
And so are the fast channels bringing new or different audiences to the established?
I would say they do, and it depends on the platform. I think Roku in particular does a very good job with the thousands of fast channels that they have. They're presented in a traditional grid. And so we see a lot of younger people, and then we do companion services, right? So we have All Black Gems, which is a fast channel that promotes certain aspects of All Black, but then we will see that viewership of the fast channels with the younger audiences may drive an SVOD subscription. And then we have Walking Dead channels, and we have, you know, all different types of FAST channels. And each one we actually do ad-supported, and so we, from a segmentation perspective, can sell a basket across everything from linear to streaming to FAST. So,
yeah.
But they're definitely younger.
There's quite a few panels over the next couple of days about programmatic. How's that sort of delivering for you in monetizing the FAST channels?
So programmatic, we're extremely proud of. Hopefully Evan Adelman from AMC Networks is in the room. We're fortunate at our company to have our lead advertising folks come directly from digital. So unlike, you know, many of the other groups who started with linear television advertising executives who then had to learn digital, we had people come in that knew digital and said, why can't we do this with television? And so very heavy lift to launch programmatic. We trialed it a couple months ago. We have some very large-scale clients doing it. And then what I loved, because I'm a data person, is we actually looked at our own inventory for promotion for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, which is the newest in the line of the Walking Dead franchise. So we looked at all of our tune-in advertising, and we did a programmatic campaign with it, and we saw actually a 65% lift in viewership of those that were exposed programmatically to the tune-in ads for Daryl Dixon. So we know programmatic works. We have some forward-thinking clients and agencies who want to work with us on it, and so we see a lot of opportunity.
But this is programmatic linear, not just normal programmatic.
Right, programmatic linear.
At TV standards, not display standards, so
exactly.
protecting the
so
frequency.
Brand safe and everything else,
Yeah.
And then we have national addressable as well, so 65% of our inventory on AMC, WeTV, and BBC America is nationally addressable, so we can insert across those networks in a targeted fashion, which is pretty cool.
But I guess, you know, as a broadcaster, when you think about programmatic, I guess there are only a few measures that you're looking to sort of measure success against. You know, is it increasing the yield? Is it growing the overall revenue pie that you can take? Or is it automating or improving the advertiser experience? Is it delivering against all three of those, some of those, or?
I'd say all three. I think that, you know, the revenue piece is, you know, we're growing 20% digital revenue year over year, so it's getting there. Is it offsetting the loss in linear ratings? And, you know, traditional GRPs not yet, and I think that's the challenge that most programmers are facing, particularly in the States, is, you know, recouping that linear revenue through digital is not quite there, but we're optimistic in doing things like programmatic linear or doing, you know, national addressable, that we can start to kind of get to a place where we were in the past.
And over the sort of the time, has programmatic sort of grown as a proportion of your overall revenue, or is it sort of, or steadily or rapidly, or is it just sort of generally ticking up?
Digital overall is growing. Programmatic's new for us, so it's only been a couple of months. But again, the interest is there, and I think as agencies and advertisers become more sophisticated, you know, even some of the stuff Peter was talking about, they're going to start asking for audiences and buying segments as opposed to just broadcasting in large baskets to you know, everyone and anyone. So we're not quite there yet, but the future looks pretty bright.
50-50 soon? 50-50 soon? Split between linear and programmatic?
I think so, soon.
And then on the audiences, you know, again, this is on another couple of panels talking about context and audience targeting. That is something that's really sort of building momentum, but, you know, what's new is old sort of thing. It's what's always been around. You know, how are you using contextual and content signals to drive this? Is that something that you're focusing on and Evan and the team are working on, or is that?
Contextual is a little bit further down the road, I think, but, you know, for us, particularly with the mothership, which is AMC, you know, we do scripted high-quality dramas. So there's a certain level of sophistication to the audiences that we have there. You know, WeTV is slightly different in that it's mostly reality television and unscripted, which drives a different level of engagement. So, you know, it's really more about bringing, I think, meeting the audiences where they are and identifying who is watching, and the difference is, you know, because we launched AMC ad-supported, AMC Plus ad-supported, so we now have an advertising-supported version of our streaming service, and even looking at that, or looking at when a show like Daryl Dixon launches and we run a whole season, who's watching it on demand on streaming versus who's watching it on linear, and we can do different advertising on each, so you'll see a younger, less affluent, viewer on streaming for this particular show. And then you'll see more traditional, older, homeowner type of folks watching on linear. I don't know how DVR fits into any of that. I don't know if people still have a DVR.
It's integrated in the Skybox. As a content creator, one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that you've invested also a lot of time and energy as the business in building brand opportunities for brands to get more integrated into the content. So again, sort of reinventing history, investing in the new, but whilst protecting those brand integrations. Can you tell us a bit more about that, how it's a priority?
Sure. So within our marketing and programming teams, we have a group called the Content Room, and their job specifically is to create custom content in partnership with advertisers. So, for example, we have right now a show called In the Kitchen with Harry, which is Harry Hamlin. It's very famous, also married to a housewife of LA, and so he loves to cook. So we did a partnership with Whole Foods where they fund the production of the show, and we do segments in the kitchen with Harry where he invites different celebrities in and he creates meals with them. And it's good short form content. It's beneficial because it's an organic integration. Again, some of what Peter was talking about, an organic integration of a strong programming strand in conjunction with a well-known advertiser. So it's a more natural approach to putting advertising dollars against what people think is pretty high quality content. So we also do with Diageo, we do some things with Coleman Domingo and some of the spirit brands, as well as for people who like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. The Kim Wexler character, Ray Seahorn, she has a show called Cooper's Bar that's also sponsored by a liquor company, and it's about a backyard bar in Hollywood that was created during the pandemic. So we're on season 2 of Cooper's Bar. And again, it's great content for people. It's not run necessarily heavily like a true linear schedule, but it's viewed and interesting enough, and it's a great positioning for the advertising brands.
So a lot of what we've talked about so far has been about your North American business. You also exist in South America and different markets in Europe. And I know it's very easy for everyone to think that everything is how North America is, but the markets are evolving in different stages, different speeds. Tell us about what you're seeing in South America and Europe.
Yeah, okay. So South America, so we have 4 different regions. Our LATAM region is huge. I think we have 86 million subscribers in South America across, and the largest countries being, Brazil, Peru, Colombia, and Argentina. But the economy right now is pretty challenging down there. So they are sophisticated in the offering, particularly around advertising and data collection and things like that. But we're sort of waiting out the market to see how we can grow in Latin America. It's a challenging time, but we have a strong presence there. Then we're in Northern Europe, so we have offices in Budapest and Hungary, and that's much more of a traditional cable model where it's $20 a month, you get all of your channels, and then they're slowly starting to do more advanced offerings and advanced advertising. But there, it's not a lot of money for a subscription, but the margins are really good because it's more of a traditional business. The UK is, well, you know what the UK is saying. It's very confusing right now. I think that the challenge in the UK for a company like ours is that you all have 800 hours, I think, a year of public service broadcast content that's free over the air. So you have, sort of the ITV and ITV Plus is starting to grow. You have Sky Glass, you have, Channel 4. So there's a lot of moving pieces in this country, but we want to continue to activate our brands here. Right now we have two services that we partner with Paramount on, which is True Crime and Legend. Those do pretty well here. And then our last market, which is really opportunistic and we do quite well, is in Iberia. So we're in Spain and Portugal. Pretty sophisticated offerings there with Movistar and Televista. But it's not a huge market, so we do well there. We have great relationships, but the upside relative to the U.S., where you have 60, 70 million homes, Canada, where you have 13 to 18 million homes, like there's opportunities here, but the growth rate and the ultimate size, it can't be anywhere near as big as the U.S. So, but it's it's fun. It's great.
Sounds almost slightly schizophrenic. You have to wear all these different hats for all the different markets.
Yes.
How do you build a global business model when you've got to be so?
I think for us, it's the franchises, right? So franchises like The Walking Dead and, AMC, as you saw in the video, is famous for, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and our Walking Dead franchises, which continue to really do incredibly well. I mean, Daryl Dixon, our most recent version, was the most viewed show that we've ever launched on our streaming service. And so we now have, the entire Anne Rice library. So we did Interview with the Vampire, we're on season 2 now, which is now, season 1 is airing on BBC 2 in the UK now. But we also have Mayfair Witches, which is a second iteration of that. And then we've announced a third iteration of Anne Rice. So like for us, I think it's building ownable franchises that again stand for high quality scripted dramas and continuing to kind of capitalize on those in a way that helps us grow the business and also preserves the brand equity along the way.
So this is about the future. So looking at the next sort of 3-5 years, what do you see changing? Is FAST going to be the mainstay of your business? Are you going to partner with the social platforms more? Are you going to come back into linear in all the territories? What's you think is the priority for AMC?
I think that the priority for us is definitely, like I said earlier, meeting the audiences where they are. And then because I come more from an operating and advertising background and data background than I do a content background, I'm constantly looking at ways to make the business more efficient, right? So having, I've said this a million times, but a federated back end for all of our streaming services, right? So we can aggregate all of our metadata and know everything. We have 42,000 hours of content on our linear services, and then add in all of the streaming services and everything that we have the rights to. Where do we have the rights to it? For how long? Where can we run it? What can we do with it? And then putting that into, inelegantly referred to as the sausage factory, in the middle to make sure that we have efficient cloud storage, that we have really good distribution capabilities, so that if we want to opportunistically launch a streaming service in Australia or insert country name here, that we can quickly turn that on and maximize the opportunity there. And then the other big thing is bundles, right? So we did a pop-up recently of AMC Plus on Max. It was a great opportunity for us because we got our content, older series content, in front of the 60 or 70 million Max subscribers around the world. We had it up for 3 months. Our titles were consistently in the top 10 over the course of the 3 months, and now we're seeing sort of the benefit of exposing new audiences to our franchises as the new seasons come out on AMC Plus. So I think we'll look to do more bundles, but overall it's just we have great stuff. It's putting it in the right place, making sure there's exposure for it, and then hopefully we can monetize it in a way that allows the company to continue to be successful.
So advertising, 5 years' time, will it replace your subscription revenue? Will it be 100% programmatic? Will it be fully automated? Or where do you see that trend going, given your data experience and the digitization of your business that you're
I think it'll
focused on?
still be both. I think the distribution, I think for us, we're pretty small, so direct-to-consumer may not be the most efficient model as opposed to partnerships and bundles. And again, because we're not vertically integrated, we're a pure-play programming company, we can partner with anybody who wants to partner with us, right? We're not concerned that, our brands compete with, if we were making it up, but with Peacock or with Paramount or obviously with Warner. So I think by doing wholesale, direct-to-consumer, and traditional distribution of our linear and SVOD services, we can continue to maintain some percentage of distribution revenue. And then the advertising, it's about being as sophisticated as possible, running the right ad loads in the right way so that it's not a really disruptive consumer experience, and getting smarter and better at that. So I think it's always going to be a double-headed.
And a lower pay away to all the platforms. The Googles,
Yep.
the Amazons, the whatever.
Yes.
And so in terms of the next step of innovation, I know Evan's speaking on a panel later, where is your focus going forward as our final question?
Our focus going forward is just to continue to make great content, which sounds really simple, but everybody's seen in the press how much reduction there's been. At our height, we were up to $1.3 billion. in content spend. We've now sort of leveled that back down to about $1 billion a year, but there's no guarantee, right? It's lightning in a bottle, so making sure that we work with great creators, that we're efficient and conscientious about the cost per show and what we put out on the street, I think it seems boring and maybe something that everybody's talked about for years, but that's the core of what we do. So continuing to preserve the brand equity in things like Sundance or AMC or IFC is a critical piece of the future going forward.
In English, that translates to stick to your knitting.
Exactly. Yes. Well said, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Kristin.
you.